Yeah, I mean, it was like one where I mean, I said it afterwards on my stream, but somehow Reddit finds a way to make everyone feel bad because after that, like Yankos is like, shit, bro, did I fucking just ruin my life? Like Yankos is messaging me and he's like, yo, my bad, bro. Like I didn't know it was gonna be like that. I thought it was just like a fucking joke. Like I thought we were like gonna like I don't actually think you're a fucking fraud. Obviously, like I'm somebody like he's been on our fucking show. Like we did the Crackdown with him. I did another show, like an episode of The Jungle with him, with Monty years back. I did a Riot show. He was in the SAC last year during Worlds. He joined like our co-stream during Worlds last year. It's like somebody who I've had a good relationship with. And a lot of people don't know this because, I mean, they refuse to do any type of research. But if you were on Reddit in 2018, one of the most popular threads was when Jankos admitted in a Polish interview that when I was a pro in season 1 and I didn't know who he was, he ran into me in a solo queue game. And at this time, I was like, an absolute top tier pro. Like, you know, I was going to Worlds and all that stuff. And I messaged him and I was like, I think that you're a really good player. I think you should try hard. Like, I think you can be a pro player. And he mentioned, like, I didn't even know this happened, by the way. Like, I don't even remember.
I like the way you're doing, like, the prequel meme of, like, fucking Palpatine with Anakin's like, we will pay much attention to your career, Skywalker. We're like, all right, Dom, whatever.
Like, and this apparently had such a big impact on Yankos that 7 years later, he mentioned it in a Polish interview, and there was like a Reddit thread. Yeah. And this was like at the peak of like the I will dominate hate on Reddit. Yeah. So like it was very confusing for people because they're like, well, fuck, I mean, he's a piece of shit, but at least he did a good thing. You know, like they tried to like. So it's like the idea that he like disrespects me or he thinks that I'm actually a fraud. Like it's like, dude, this is like somebody who I've had like when he was literally nothing. I believed in him. Like it's not like I just believed in him when he was the Western GOAT. It's like I played with him in season 1, and I was like, you've got talent, bro. Like I can tell, like, I don't play against that many players that I think have, you know, what you have. So this is how I've known this guy for the longest time. So it's just so funny that you know, they try to make it into something they're not. I saw such ridiculous comments. It's like Vedius, Dracos, Dom, and Gillies are just lying on stream. Seems like a pretty fucking big deal, my guy. It's like, we want to play that fucking game. Like, oh shit, like we've got a lot of liars in the community then. Like,
no, I know what you mean. Like, two things that do kill me is, one, people really have to learn like this. Like, being wrong isn't the same as lying. Lying is you actively try to deceive the person to think something that you know is not true. Like, just being wrong. Like, people tell me I lie all the time. You lied about Reckless. Look, the angle shouldn't even be I lied, you idiot. If you're going to say something, if you think I'm completely wrong about what you think is the reality of Reckless's game, the angle shouldn't be that I'm lying. You should just say I don't know anything about the game, or I don't have an eye for the game, or I don't understand what he's doing. That would be a cleverer angle, because it's obviously like more authentic for both of us, isn't it? Like, the idea I'm actually sitting down like, I'm just going to lie for 10 years. It's implausible, isn't it? Like, I obviously clearly do think that. And then the other thing I would throw to is this, is that the other thing, I know you must get so annoyed when this happens as well, Dom, is the worst ones is where, like you said, they don't know your history with the other person. So it's where the Zoomer does that, like, Gen Alpha fucking speech where they'll go like, little bro, he doesn't know you, mate. And sometimes they've done that, Dom, to players that have been like actual friends of mine for like 10 years, you know, like, and it'll be like, really, do I not know who he is, lil bro? Like, you know, it's like, give me a break. That's the one that does sort of trigger me a bit. I can't lie.
I mean, something about it so obnoxious. Crackdown for free. Like he came on the Crackdown for free. Like he literally will opt in a busy schedule when he was on the 2020 G2 at the peak of his career. He's getting 20,000 viewers on his stream. He's willing to take 2-3 hours and come on the Crackdown with us just to talk to us for a couple hours and like make a show and get his ideas out and everything and run them past other people. So that's who Jankos is, like, to me, still to this day. You know, it's somebody who I'll collab with again in the future at some point. And now it's like people have made it into something in their head where it's like, damn, Dom versus Jankos, do they hate each other? It's like, no, he was just pointing out that I got something wrong, which, like, and he was doing it in a Jankos way. Like, and if you don't know how Jankos is, Jankos is not a guy who's like a super malicious guy. Like, he's a guy who like says like those types of jokes, like, got exposed, like, you're fraud. Like, he just like, he thinks that other people understand that he's clearly joking because he's like smiling as he says it, and like the way that he conveys things is like in a you know, like a laughing matter. So
there's a percentage of dumb people on the internet just don't get sarcasm. You know what I mean? They just don't get it at all. Like, you can't help them. They'll always just read it at face value. No, the other thing, by the way, about that particular incident as well is, surely if we actually look at the totality, the fact no one's feelings were really hurt, essentially Yankos just got mildly, you know, keyword mildly, and decided to explain something that actually isn't that awesome that we all got to know, like some fucking really intricate like aspect of how like Sejuani actually works with the kit. Like, dude, that's actually really interesting info to know. I'm glad he told us. Like, I've got the same vibe from your comment. Like, it's actually cool to know that now, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it opens like I think that is something that's generally more relevant in like top Sejuani matchups because like
Right.
in jungle, most of the time you're just going to like throw your ult from range because you're just
Sure.
from range. Or if you're on top of somebody, you're not going to risk missing it. Where it's like there is a time where what he did is going to be really useful. And
You're
that's when the
basically
target has no
meaning like
capacity.
if he's going like 1v1, you're trying to say like, does he actually have the ability to get the kill, right?
Yeah. I mean, essentially what it is like if a target has tenacity, then you will always either do the ult from range immediately, or you're gonna just like stay close to them because you don't want the ability to miss the ult. But in a situation like that, if you are like 200 units away where you're not technically in auto attack range, then it's better to E them, step back, throw the ult, and then auto them, so that you don't end up like missing anything. So it's like a very like niche situation where it'll be like actually useful and when it'll be more damage. In that situation, like technically, look, if we want to be technical, I think still in that situation, it's probably better to auto.
Yes.
If you're in auto range, like you just get an extra auto, but it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have killed them, right? Like it would have been like 18 damage off or whatever, and the same situation would have played out. So like it's completely irrelevant in that situation. But yeah, I mean that was something that was good to know. I think for top Sejuani, I think it matters. And like obviously the fact that like 4 people got it wrong. I mean Gilius like had played Sejuani for
most of these people are junglers as well, pro junglers. That's why Reddit being so like fucking harsh is like give them a break, guys. Like first of all, you all didn't know that, and then these guys were pros themselves to it like all fucking 80 seasons or something.
Here's the thing. It's like this year I did an Udyr grind 2 challenger, and like I did that like top lane arc. I think you saw it when I was like playing like the Dantes tournament. I competed in a tournament as a top laner, and I caught on to the fact that Udyr was really strong early. And I had a lot of games on it because I had played jungle previously. And when Udyr became meta in pro play all over the world this year, none of them had ever played Udyr before. Like the idea of top lane Udyr had never been a thing. It had never been strong in the top lane role because it was reworked at the end of 2022 and it hadn't even been played jungle by most people. People just didn't think it would be a pro viable champion, or at least not in the spots, right? So when Udyr became meta, I literally watched every single Udyr make the same mistake for literally months.
Is this the one you tweeted about? The one where like it's when you do the R or something, you have to make it like pulse on them after? Is this the one you were referring to on a tweet or something, right?
Yes. So this was something that ended up happening. I mean, I guess I can say it now. But like Finn messaged me afterwards because I mean the reason why Yankos did this is because he went and he watched my live view afterwards, and a lot of pros actually do. I wonder why they do that, by the way. Like I wonder if I'm just like fucking completely incompetent. I don't know what I'm talking about. These players that are playing in LEC will then go back and watch like what my commentary on the game was or like what my criticisms of them would be. But I remember like Finn messaged me afterwards in one of these games where he's like, dude, I've played over 100 games of Udyr. I had no idea what you were just talking about. Like, so when you press R and like you do the awakened R, which is the storm that travels, when you auto attack, you get a pulse of damage within the storm, right? So it's like extra damage. And this is like every trade people were missing over 100 damage in every single trade, because intuitively when you auto attack, where you auto attack, the storm is going to gravitate towards. So a lot of people feel like, oh, I shouldn't auto attack because it's going to change the direction of the storm. But obviously, if you're playing versus a competent player, they're not like an AI who's just going to sit in the storm the entire time and just take the damage. So like when they're on the edge, it's better to pulse the storm a couple times to maximize the damage that you get on them in every single one of the trades. So this is like something that I watched for like years, and then people made it seem like it's like, dude, he knows nothing about the game. It's like there's a reason why like people are actually listening to what I'm saying most of the time. And this is like the same thing that happened before. I mean, if I make any type of mistake because it's Reddit, it'll always blow up. But I think that most of the time people have to realize that no one is going to know everything about this game all the time because the game just changes so much, number one. And there's just way too much information. Like everyone will mess up things. I mean, we had the famous one where Clid didn't know his Q had an execute on it. He's like the best Lee Sin in the fucking world. He's like borderline, like he's on the verge of winning worlds. He doesn't even know like his Q has execute. So, I mean, it is what it is, bro. Like no one's going to know everything about the game. That's just how the game is. It's just too much information in it.
No, it's even why, like I told you, like one of the mad examples for me is I normally never try to be like the person who's going on about like the mechanics of the kicks, not my style of watching League. Like I'm more watching players and historically how they perform and stuff. But the one I always remember was when it was in 2022 and they had all those Lucian Nami bot lanes that like Europe was just butchering all the time. Bro, I've watched like some of the best supports ever. Like Hillisang was doing this. Like, bro, he didn't even know, like no joke, what someone who would have played like 200 gold games of Nami would play. Like he was doing stuff like fucking the ult up stuff and doing it point blank and stuff. Like, really, again, like stuff where, again, this is where Reddit's got to stop doing this thing, Dom. I've always said this. One of the weirdest things is, even the way they model game knowledge to me is so bizarre, because they do it almost like it's a linear progression. And it's almost like they think of it almost like in video games, like a bar that powers up to 100%. And let's say in this analogy for them, Faker is 100%, you know, he's like got the ultimate game knowledge. Then what they act is like everyone has to do the same 5%, 10%, 15%. So their logic goes, you know, the first whatever 10, 15% is like these champions. But that's not the way knowledge works at all. Knowledge is more like I think it's like a horizontal field, and it's more like some people who are even pros have just done a tiny little bit of all the different parts. Some of them have gone super deep. Like the obvious example here, Dom, would be it's why actually people like Power of Evil probably did get underrated at times, because people would be like, they're only going to play 2 champions, and it's like, yeah, but he's like Adam, he's played that champion in every fucking matchup ever in solo queue. And then in the case of Power of Evil, dude, he'd have done like 10 different item builds as well, and he'd have like all this extra tech. So it's like in that scenario, it's not about is he the best fucking like Victor player in the world. It's about like what is his particular like knowledge based on that champion. Maybe actually on that champion, maybe he's better than fucking Crown, even if Crown's mechanics look better. I feel like, because there's a great saying they have, I think it's in Japan, where they say something like, nobody is smarter than all of us. And it's the idea that like, even if you yourself were the smartest person, there'll be someone who's way less smart than you, who has some info you don't have. So I think this whole idea of like, if someone's this good a player, they have more knowledge than the guy who's not as good a player. That's not even how knowledge works, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, and then also I think that what people don't understand is there's a difference between absent knowledge and then incorrect knowledge. It's not like I had, like, people can a lot of times, for example, with the Udyr thing, if I were to take all these pro players and I would take them backstage and I would give them a quiz on like what auto attacking during your R does, they think they know what it does, and it's just wrong.
Right.
The same way I thought I knew what the Sejuani like ult E interaction was with the passive procs, and I was just wrong. So it's like, you're not going to be questioning knowledge that you think you know, which is what people don't understand. Like there's no reason, like I'm not going to just spend time being like, oh, I think I know all this stuff about like Udyr, and then I just go on like the wiki and then I just find out something new. Like I'm not going to be seeking out the gaps in knowledge that I don't think I have. Like normally when I'm going through my coach streams, a lot of what I'm doing is I'm pulling up games of Legends. I'm pulling up like the league fandom, and I'm trying to like figure out specifics of like, okay, this item was just changed. How good is it in relation? Like, what is the AD value of this compared to the AD value of that? What item build would make this like the most sense with like how the different kits interact? Like, I'm going to be seeking out the knowledge that I know I don't have, rather than like trying to correct knowledge that I think I think I already have as perfect knowledge. You know, so a lot of times that's why these gaps will exist, because somebody like Clade, for example, just thinks he knows how Lee Sin Q works. He's like, I'm like the best Lee Sin. Like I'm fucking winning every game on Lee Sin. I'm good on it in solo queue. I'm good on it in competitive. My mechanics are really sick. Like, he's not going to go like, oh, maybe I should read my queue in detail right now. Like, who's going to do that? Like, you've played a million games of Pyke. You're not reading your Pyke abilities thinking that you don't understand some part of the kit that like that you might misunderstand. So like, that's the thing that I think people miss in this whole situation, is they don't understand that it's not that I just had like an absence of knowledge where I like never bothered to look up how Sejuani worked. It's like, I thought I knew how it worked. Like, definitely. Like, if you were to make me risk my life, I'm like, how does the Sejuani E work? Like, does your R proc your E? I would be like, nope. And then they would just shoot me in the fucking head because I would be wrong. You know, like that's how it would go down. If like I risked my life on that, it would just be the end of me. So that's the difference, bro.
Also, as usual, it wasn't even that one person was 100% right and 100% wrong, because, Dom, if you go back and watch the clip again, you are still correct. He still also could have auto-attacked while doing the same things he did. It's just that he wouldn't have gotten the kill. So in a way, you were still wrong, but like you were also right that he could have also attacked as well. He could have weaved one in there. I think he even could have got two in, maybe.
I could have maybe got another one, but it's like, that's not even the point. Like, I didn't even want to make it into one of those things because it makes you just look so bad. But like, he also was like, oh, and then I get the storm as well. It's like the storm doesn't proc on one person. Like he said like, oh, I'll get the glacial storm. The glacial storm procs on other people. Like you get the increased damage from the bola, but you don't actually get the glacial storm on one person. But I just didn't even decide to go there.
This is where you're a better man than me, because I'd have tried to go the Uno reverse card. Like, well, actually, I'm sorry, Yankos. You know, I know you haven't had time to look this up, but actually, the stuff. Yeah, he could have done that too. Like,
yeah, for sure.
But
this is what I say. It's like, this is why taking the L online is so why everyone fucking hates doing it, because like a bunch of people just like insult you for I don't know.
Well, it's like you say,
on end.
the logic should go, because it's what they would. Here's what's funny, Tom. If you ever went to a thread where I'm in there, and I notoriously don't ever apologize unless I'm literally completely wrong, right? If you ever saw a thread about me, they would all just say, like, why can't he just give it? Why can't he just take the L, bro? Just humble yourself, take the L. But as you say, if you take the L, they're pretending like, oh, everything will be okay if you take the L. No, the second you take the L, it becomes a massive target for every other idiot in the world to come in on you. And now even the people, by the way, who maybe never even knew this mechanic, well, they'll just be the, yeah, no, you'd shut the fuck up if you don't know what every ability does. Like, you're right, Tom, they don't even understand incentives, because if you actually do what they claim you want, they just hit you even harder. Like, the beatings just continue.
Yeah, no, it's worthless. But I mean, I read every comment in that thread, and then people just go and they like lie about your career. They're like, and that's why he was always the worst. I
do love those ones. It's when they're just like factually wrong even at all.
If you existed pre-season 5 and you don't consider me one of like the better junglers in LCS at minimum, then you're just fucking delusional. It's like, what? Like, I was playing in top teams consistently, like always, like top rankings, like other fucking players that were competing at the time would say that I'm like the best or the second best. As soon as All Pro came out, I was second. Like, I was winning like MVPs of the week and shit. Like, come on. Who the fuck is going to try to argue that I was a bottom tier LCS jungler? Was I just like the luckiest player of all time?
And
I wasn't even playing on good teams.
Anyone who didn't win the championship just gets that. Because, by the way, they did the exact same thing when they started hating on Crumbs, to say that he was like always trashing his career. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, he used to be like one of the smarter players at one point in time. Like, a lot of people thought Crumbs was a good player, mate. What are you talking about?
Definitely he was a good player.
Yeah. But they just did the same thing at the end, because they just decided he was a bozo. Like, they just fucking said he was trash the whole time, because... See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.